Hello everybody, it is Tammy with Stamp and Scrap Tammy. I am sharing with you today the September Card Club class featuring the Harvest Meadow Suite. So if you are receiving this in an email, it is because you purchased the Harvest Meadow class, or possibly maybe you're catching it on YouTube because I shared the link with you. Or you found me maybe on my blog. So welcome to anybody that is watching, but especially to those that purchased the September Card Club class. So I'm going to share with you the contents of your kit. It is on the way to you. If you have not received it at all already, it will be there. We also stamped live in the studio just yesterday, so it was great to see so many smiling faces stamp with me yesterday. So, you know, you probably, those folks that were here yesterday, you already have your cards created, but maybe you want just an overview or a step-by-step of how I created them. So that's exactly what I'm going to do today. If you are not taken one of the Card Club classes, or Birthday Club, which is next week, is very similar to that. So Card Club is always the third Tuesday of the month as far as live stamping. It goes out in the mail the day after. Birthday Club, same concept, is always the fourth Tuesday of the month, with the kit going out in the mail the day after that too. So I do a Tuesday, Wednesday, the third and fourth Tuesdays of the month. And this is what is included in this month's kit. This is very similar to other kits as well. There was optional add-on for the Nature's Harvest stamp set and the die cuts. Currently, these die cuts, if you're watching this on September 22nd, they are on back order. They are scheduled to be back in next week. So these will be available again. They're just so popular that they went on back order. And this is the set that I use. But to have success in the cards that we're creating today, you could certainly add in other products if you don't have this, and you know, maybe you're not in the market for this because you chose something else. All right, and so this is the Designer Series paper. I did include in your packets a half a package of Designer Series paper. I did a little cutting out of this design from your paper that was in your kit. So if you were wondering why one of the pieces is cut into, because I did that so that your Designer Series could all be pre-cut for you. Also included is the brushed metallic dots. You will use these on every card if you make the cards like I did. And then also this beautiful basket, I think it's called basket weave ribbon. And I'm going to show you what I did to start. So those are the supplies included, and then two of each one of the designs that I'm going to make today. These are the cards I'm going to be sharing with you. I will let you have a nice good look at those. Okay, so as we go here, you may see where I'm fumbling around a little bit, or I have to go and grab something. So as I create today, it is just as if you're stamping with me in the studio. Well, maybe not quite that bad, but you know, and so if you stamp in the studio with me, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I usually have to go and do something or find something, or I've lost my pen or my scissors, or you know, my bone fold about 4,000 times while you're here. So that's probably exactly what's going to happen today as well. So these are the cards that we're going to be making. But to start, something I did on each one of the cards, that I did use the ribbon this time. And I started so that you didn't have to watch me cut ribbon. But I cut all of my ribbon in half. So I just cut it right down the center. For the cards that I'm using it for today, I thought just how it is was just a bit bulky. So I just went ahead and snipped it right in half. So if you want to start with that while while I'm getting situated, you can go for that if you're working on your kit as we're going here. And so that's what I did. So you'll see as we go that that worked out quite nice. So I cut all the ribbon in half. And let's see, I'm going to open my dots up so they're ready to go. I'm sure around here somewhere I have an open package of these, but I know for sure without a shadow of a doubt that I will be using more of these. So I might as well just open up another package and have them ready to go. And let's get started. We are going to do a little heat embossing. Now, if you have these cards, if you got the packet, you can mix these up as much or as little as you would like. I am just going to show you how I did them. And I do need to get a scratch piece of paper. Looks like I have one right here. All right, and so I did do all of the regular embossing for you, like running it through the die cutting machine, the Stamp and Cut emboss machine. And so this is a little bit textured. It is called the Time Worn 3D embossing folder. That is what I used for all of the cards that are embossed today. And so first I'm going to do the embossing powder on this card. It's going to be a little bit difficult to see at a first glance. Okay, so I'm going to bring in my stamp here. And all I'm going to do, we need Versamark, so we do need to find some of that. Of course, I had 2 of them yesterday. I think I actually put them away. I didn't put everything away because I knew I was going to be doing the video for you today. And so some of the supplies are still out, but a few of them I was tidying up, not even thinking about it. There I go. What am I doing thinking about cleaning up? All right, so Versamark is what you use for heat embossing, and then the powders. So we actually have 2 cards with embossing on it today. And again, totally optional. You don't have to do this part. So I really want this part to be pretty random. This first card here, see, so do you see that I just kind of go left, center, and it does not matter if they overlap. And you'll see exactly why when we get going here. And this card is cased right from the catalog. There's 2 cards that I created today that are cased right from the catalog. Now what I'm gonna do is I have a coffee filter, you know, use whatever works for you. I'm just gonna leave it sit in there like so, and then I'm going to sprinkle this embossing. I'm gonna be pretty generous on there because I wanna make sure to get it all over, okay? Again, because it is a little bit difficult to see just because it's white on white. But we're gonna be doing some blending on there, so that's why we want to do this. Otherwise, you might be wondering, well, why even do it if you're not really gonna see it? So now I need to bring in my heat tool. And I'll see if it'll reach quite this far. I'm plugged in a different spot today. So just barely is gonna make it. All right, so I'm gonna turn it all the way on here and then just run it along. Usually when I start, I kind of do this while it's getting warmed up. And then once it starts to get warm, you'll see, I don't know if, I'm gonna hold it up nice and close. Hopefully you can see it turn, but we're gonna do one in copper as well. So if you have not heat embossed yet, I challenge you to try it. This is using the white embossing powder. I'm also gonna use the copper. Oh, there, look at that, beautiful. It's starting to turn, it's so pretty. It's just magical. It never gets old. Every time I heat emboss, I am just impressed with myself every time. I mean, let's be honest. Here we are. Okay, so we are all heated up. So basically, once it gets shiny, you're good to go. You are ready to rock and roll. So next, what I'm gonna do, because my background here, let me just set. So these are the other pieces for this card. So what I'm gonna do is take my soft succulent, because that's the base color I have here. And I have got one of our blending brushes. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna rub that in there nice, okay? Quite a bit, you know. And then I'm gonna just kind of go like so, okay? Just to get that little bit off. And then you just go right along your paper here. Do you see that? Isn't that like one of the most magical things you've ever seen in your life? Well, maybe not in your life, but today, how about this is the most magical thing that you have seen today. Now you can decide, you know, how dark or light you want it to be, but I think that looks great, just like so. So I can go ahead and set that away. And next what we need to do is I'm gonna do all the stamping on this first. And the background colors on this, as far as the sentiments, you can really mix and match. On my supply list, I didn't include all of the colors. Basically, you want neutrals. So like if you have, let me see if I even have it out yet. I maybe don't. The Early Espresso is a great one. Soft Suede, Basic Black, Crumb Cake. Those are all some really great options for stamping the projects today. And I think, you know what, I set up another project for an event I have this weekend, so I do believe I have to go and get my other ink pads back here. But for now, I'll just do this in Soft Suede. So if you only have one of those neutral tones, that's just fine. You can use that on all of these cards. And so I'm gonna put one of the sentiments, sending healing thoughts, may nature's beauty bring peace to your soul. That's what I'm gonna put on this. I use Soft Suede ink there. And next, I'm gonna stamp, so you see here, let me set the sample there. This one, cased from the catalog again. I'm going to stamp this flower. This is cut out already for you. So if you don't, you know, have the stamp set, you may skip this part. It is cut out, or maybe you just draw in some lines and color in your flower how you like. But if you have the stamp set, you may consider in die cut, you may consider cutting yourself out, you know, stamping and then cutting it out. But because I was cutting a bunch of them for the live class, I went ahead and cut them for everybody. But I have my Stamparatus set up for this. And I actually should have done one of the other ones first. I have this one ready for another card, but that's okay. I can always put it back in. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is put my template that I have. So this is a good little trick too. If you have a Stamparatus, it's so great. You can stamp it one time, die cut it here, but now I have a template set up as long as I leave my stamp on my plate until I'm done with all the projects I want to create with this die cut. Because then all I have to do is drop in, move that out of the way. All I have to do is drop in my die cut. There we go. And now I am going to have perfect placement every time I stamp. So basically, I only have to spend the time to line it up one time, the initial time I make my template. And then after that, it's just easy breezy. And so there we are. And then if it doesn't work out, if I don't stamp right, it gives me a second opportunity. You know, if I want it darker, I can just put that down. I can re-ink it and stamp it one more time. And that is perfect. The coloring on this is very simple. Use whatever yellow tone, you could go orange tone, whatever you want to do. I've got the darker Daffodil Delight at my fingertips here, so I'm not going to worry about, you know, coloring perfectly in the lines. I'm basically giving it a little scribble is all I am doing here. So you just get all my little lines, a little flower down here, a little there, and here. And now because I am using the Soft Succulent for my base, I am going to use the Light Soft Succulent blend for my stem. Now, you could definitely use any other green tone. In fact, on this one, I believe I used a light old olive. But since after the fact, after I colored that first one, I'm like, that's right, I'm using Soft Succulent for my base. I decided to stick with that for my blends marker, but anything that you have will do. It's a stem after all. Greenery is supposed to be all different colors. And so that is all there is to making that card. Now, as long as we're here, we might as well finish putting it together too. So in your card kits, if you're following along and you have the card club for September, and you're making them, I'm just making one. So in the time that I'm making one, you could probably make two, but feel free to pause the video or, you know, go back and watch it slower if I'm going too quickly. And let's put this down into place. I've just got this matted on basic black. It just gave it a little bit of pop. And we'll go ahead and put that in place. And then all I did for the background designer series paper is I took some scraps of designer series that I had left over from other projects. So if you want to create some more, I mean, super easy to do. And then, you know, I did this really, really technique and just tore the edges of my paper. I did that on a bunch of the cards today. I gave it kind of a rustic look by roughing up the edges on some of the cards, and we'll get there when we get there for the other ones. But here's what we're going to do here. You can pick whichever designs you like best. And if you don't like the ones included in your card kit, you can always cut another one from the cardstock. Just measure this up. I believe this is just like a 1/2 inch by 4 inches. And then I just, you know, peel down the edge to the size that I'd like. So I did that one right. I want the tearing part to show on this side. And I'm just going to layer that over the top of this. Okay. Because I want that to stick out. Maybe this one, you know what? I'm going to put this one on the bottom. And then this is where I was talking the roughing up the edges. So I'm going to even trim this down just a smidge. So I left it long for you so that you didn't have to, you know, try to squeeze in there too much. The sentiment gave you a little bit of grace there, a little bit of room to wiggle. And then you can trim it down if you like, or just leave it how it was. And I'm just going to rough these edges up a little bit. I was telling them yesterday at the live class, you know, another trick is if your paper trimmer, if your blades are kind of dull and you're getting that fraying, do this. Do this to your whole edging of your paper, and it's going to look like it was supposed to be that way. Tips and tricks of the trade that I have learned over the years. Actually, I started doing that way back when I was scrapbooking. And this is before I even knew what Stampin' Up! Was. And the stores were all closed, and I didn't even know what kind of trimmer I had. I probably bought it at a garage sale. And so I was like, what am I gonna do? I didn't even know you could buy different blades. I thought you had to buy a whole new paper trimmer. So when you do buy a paper trimmer, I know the Stampin' Up! One for sure, I'm sure other places too, you can get replacement blades. All right, so I'm just gonna put that over the top. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna tuck that in. I maybe should have put that first. Whoops. Okay, I'm gonna tuck that in there too. So I'm gonna put that on dimensionals as well. That one might be handy to have some minis. So since I'm gonna be tucking underneath there, I'll just put them on the top. Don't necessarily need to put them on the bottom because it'll tuck underneath there and adhere. So then let's just tuck that under there, and that almost completes our card. But I like to add a little bling to it. So let's go ahead and bring our take a pic tool if I can find it. Again, this is just like being here. If you were here, I would have lost about 5 more things by now because I probably would have moved around and been different places within the room. But when I don't have a video going, I am kind of stuck to this area, so that helps a little bit. All right, let me move my scraps out of the way. And I'm gonna go with, there's 3 different tones here, gold, bronze, and what would that other one be? Or copper. So this one here that I'm doing is more the copper. So gold, copper, bronze. And I like to work in odd numbers, so I'll go ahead and put 3 there, and then I'll put 2 over on this side. I'm using the putty end of my Take a Pic. It just helps grab those off of there and put them right into place. And that finishes our first card. All right, our second card. I am creating on Very Vanilla for my card base. I've got crumb cake for my next layer. And then look at this. This is a beautiful die. And this die, the label, comes from the Frightfully Cute dies. This die has got my heart. I tell you, I keep using it on all kinds of stuff. Look at that. It's perfect. It's perfect for sentiments. It's perfect for this project. And I do need to give credit where credit is due. This project that we're making next, this current card, is cased from Brenda Nelson. She's an artist and designer, so you maybe have seen this card pop up throughout the Stampin' Up! World in the last few weeks. And so this is what we're going to be creating. So I've got Very Vanilla, and then I have got crumb cake. This one, I really roughed up the edges on this one. And then we're gonna do some stamping. We're gonna do some Stamparatusing and stamping on. Now, if you had this stamp set, you can choose if you want to put it onto your Stamparatus or you want to stamp it just cut out. It depends on really, you know, how many you're making. If you're making multiples, I definitely recommend going the Stamparatus route. Okay, so I need to get this back again. So now all I'm going to do is, because I left my stamp on this Stamparatus, all I have to do is change out my template that I'm using. So I'll take this template away. I'll put this template back in. Okay. I just use one magnet when I'm working with them. You have to be very careful with the Stamparatus that you don't let your magnets touch because they will just go like, if you've ever done it, it sounds like that. I mean, worse, it's louder. I don't want to scare you or startle you, but it is very loud, and then you can get them apart, but they will break if you don't have them, you know, if they hit just right. So first what I'm going to do now, you could take this off of there and stamp it, but I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do, and I don't mind if my paper gets a little bent, so that's okay. So you could take it off of there and stamp, or we can just do it like I'm going to do it right now. I'm going to save some time. And so all I'm going to do, this is for the background. So we don't have to be all perfect here. This is just for the background. Okay. So that's going to be my background stamp. I'm sticking with soft suede for all my cards today, I think. I'm not even going to, unless I get to the one of them that has to have crumb cake, I'm not even going to worry about that. I'm just going with soft suede all the way today. So if you have soft suede, early espresso, crumb cake, any of those colors are going to work for you. And now, do you see that? I just popped in that die cut, ready to rock and roll. Go tap, 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 nice gentle tapping. And let's move our door down. Press down nicely. Not too firm, but pretty firm, you know, like a medium. And then I'm going to pull that out of the way. Oh, I don't like how that went. I want that a little bit more. So all I got to do is close the door again and just push in that one little spot. There we go. We have got a beautiful flower. Okay. And then something I do like, I like our Simply Chamois because you can clean up your stamparatus. I don't have to take my stamp off in order to clean it. So that's a nice perk about the Simple Chamois versus the Stamp and Scrub. So if you only have the firm one. Of course, I like that one for different reasons too, but I like the chamois for this reason. And one last stamping where I'll need a little scratch piece of paper again. Let's bring back in that one for the sponging. There is this little kind of a, I'm not sure what you call it. It's just a background that I'm going to put onto this card. And let's bring in the soft suede again. And depending on how dark you like it, I like to practice on something like this. So, you know, I might practice on the back and see how dark it stamps. Now that stamps pretty dark and I don't know that I want it quite that dark. So I'm going to leave that obviously, but now I'm going to like second generation stamp. Do you see that? So I'm going to stamp it. So now I'll go here and then I'll go right to my paper. Do you see that? And I just want it, you know, nothing too neat and organized here, just kind of, you know, like so. A little smudging is all we want there. And now we just need our little sentiment that is on Calypso Coral. So just the Calypso Coral label. This is from the Harvest dies. There are 2 die cuts in there for sentiments. But for the longer one, this would be nice to set up on your stamparatus. It is a little bit of a tight squeeze. For the cards I made today, I liked it just on a little scrap of my basic white or crumb cake I used for some of them too for that longer one. There's also, you know what, maybe I'll make this one into a happy birthday. There is a sentiment stamp set that is free on a host order right now that had some smaller, or it had sentiments. It was all sentiments. And this happy birthday was in there. So I'm going to put that in here. I believe the set, I'm trying to think of the name of the set. I think it was like Word Wishes. So lots of different sentiments. Here it is. Actually, that's not the happy birthday. I have a different one. But anyways, I don't know where the happy birthday came from that I'm using. But there's a happy birthday in there too that I know fits because we used it last week. So that works. And let's put this card together before we move on to the next card. We have 4 cards to do today. So because nothing else has to be adhered to this, I will go ahead and put that into place. So again, when you're practicing that little smudging, it doesn't hurt to give it a little test on either the back of your paper or a scratch piece of paper. But if you want to see exactly how it looks on crumb cake, I would just do it on the back of the piece that you're going to be using. Okay, see that? And so it doesn't matter so much how we stamp that because that's just going to be in the background. You see, so now I will go ahead and put this into place. You know, you can decide. This one I think I'll do a little bit higher going this way because, you know, just because of how I positioned that. And this is going to adhere right to the card base, no dimensionals. So just, I should come up with a name for that, just like right onto the paper. So no dimension on that, but I will put dimensions on the next 2 layers. So let's put dimensionals on our Designer Series paper label. And then we'll tuck a snippet of that beautiful weaved ribbon behind there, the ribbon that I cut in half. You know, obviously when you cut it in half too, you get double the ribbon too. So the 2 yards of ribbon that were in your kits will really go a long ways if you use it like that. You'll have many, many more projects you can create with it, along with the Designer Series paper. All you gotta do is add some cardstock and you're good to go. Okay, so I'm just gonna put that into place, kind of hiding a little bit of the flower, and this is gonna go right over the top. And let's grab just a snippet of this ribbon. And I'm gonna get a glue dot. So my preferred method when I'm working with this ribbon like this is to have some glue dots out. So then all I have to do is tuck it into place. I can tuck a glue dot right underneath there so I know it's gonna stay. See, I'll put that right in the center where I'm gonna want it to go. And then of course there's gonna be some more adhesive here to keep it into place once I put this into place, because that's going to go right over the top. So now I still can work with it a little bit after I, you know, have a look if that's where I want it to go. And I wanted to move it a little so it looks like it will be helpful to add one more little glue dot there. Okay, and then just some dimensionals on my Calypso Coral. I didn't add in any separate colors other than what was told the coordinating colors were for the designer series paper. I stuck with that with my suite, but of course I've got lots of ideas of different things I could do with this after I started working with it. The designer series paper in this set, you'll notice if you have it now with your kit, that, you know, one side has, you know, some brighter tones with all the fall colors, and then the other side is definitely more neutrals. So you have, you know, two beautiful sides of the paper. And that's going to finish off card number 2. And now I will work into card number 3. And then our last card is just gorgeous. There'll be some more heat embossing. This is another Case the Catalog card. I've got Soft Succulent once again for my card base. There are basic white. If you're wondering what the basic whites are for, I'm not going to do that today. But you can stamp or just apply to the inside. Well, now that I said it, I might as well put this one in. But the other ones, I didn't put them in all of them. Now, on this card, you wouldn't have an insert because it's already on a light color. But if I have a darker color like this Soft Succulent, I do like to add a basic white or, you know, a coordinating color of a lighter one to the inside for writing. Okay, and so I do have cut from my layering circle dies, a circle. I've got crumb cake for my sentiment. And let me bring in my sample again. I'm hiding the sample from you. And then I have the designer series paper. Now, I kind of mixed up a little bit when I started cutting these. So some of you have them cut at 5 1/4 by 4. And then I don't know what I was thinking. I cut some of the other ones at 5 by 3 3/4. But either size works. But so if you got the smaller size and you want the bigger size, just go ahead and cut it from the designer series that you have and then save this piece for something else. Okay, this is another one. I want to rough up the edges. And this is, again, Case from the catalog. And in the catalog, they even had a little tear, like right in this corner there. So, and then I'm going to curl up the edges a little bit so you see just a sliver of the bumblebee color from behind. Just adds that nice little touch, just like a polished look to the card, okay? And so that's going to be the back. But something else that I did is kind of curled up the edges, just kind of wrinkled it up a little bit. So it looks kind of, you know, rustic and just like it's time worn. That's the embossing folder. So it looks a little timed, like it's from a past time, you know, whatever. Okay, I better hurry up. I'm starting to talk a little bit crazy here. Okay, let's go ahead and put this into place because we're not adding anything else in. So sometimes I like to just get my pieces out of the way so I don't lose them again. And then next I do need another scratch piece of paper because now for this particular card, all right, it's like magic. Look, the stamp's on a block already. I'm just kidding. I have 2 stamp sets of this, so that's why you can see that I have, one is on the Stamparatus right now and one is on a block. And I knew we were going to have quite a few people for class, and then my Fall Fest event, we're using this stamp set, so I thought it doesn't hurt to have 2 of them. So I don't usually buy 2 of everything, but for this particular stamp set, it's just that beautiful that I knew it was going to be a hit. Okay. And now because, let me see if I have it here. I'm going to use this one. Let me see. There's little dots here. Again, I told you, if you were here, you would see me fumbling around everywhere. And that's what's happening right in this moment. But I'm going to just look around as I'm coloring. I'll see if it shows up. I wanted to put some little dots behind here, but I suppose you can probably figure that out if I don't. So I think what I'll do is I'll make one with and one without. You can decide what you like. This came from a different set. It is, I believe it's like the Autumn Leaves set, had that little sprinkling of just like smudges of dots for background. It's very pretty. So if you want to add that in, I'm sure you have something like that. Or if you're comfortable like doing that with your marker, you can do that. I don't tend to do that technique much. So I'm using my Stampin' Blends to color in. I've got the darker Calypso Coral. I'm not going to do much for blending. I'm just basically going to color. I shouldn't say I'm not going to do much. I'm not going to do any. So I'm just coloring this in is all I'm doing. I've got Calypso Coral. I will use my soft succulent again for the stems. And then for the top of the flower, the center there, I'm going to bring in my soft suede blend marker. If you haven't colored with the blends, they are really, really nice to color with. Very smooth. But if you don't have the blends, you can pull in a Stampin' Write marker, and it's going to be just fine as well. And if you don't want to color it at all, you don't have to. You can just leave it how it is. So I have Calypso Coral is what this color is. But if you know, any color would coordinate with that. Something that just makes that pop a little bit. So next let's bring in this soft suede. We'll do the tops of the flower, and I'll do this little part right here. Again, I'm not spending a ton of time on this. So this one here, this would be a beautiful card if you needed or wanted to make multiples of a card. This would be a great one to do that with. And I have my light soft succulent to just do a little brushing of the stems. And at a glance, the soft succulent does kind of look really blue, but once you color with it, it's just fine. Okay, so that's going to do it for that part. So we'll have one with the little, you know, markings in the back and one without. Unless I find it in like the next 4 seconds. Oh, we have to do our sentiment piece. We'll do that longer one once again. And soft suede ink again. Sticking with soft suede. But you can see on any of these, any neutral color would do for your sentiments. Now, I didn't leave this one quite as big for myself, so I do have to, I really want to get over the top of it to, you know, so I can get that nice straight up, straight down from my view. From my viewpoint. And let's see, once again, because I did this like roughing up here, I'll do the same on this real quick. So if you haven't done this technique, you may even have a tool for this. There used to be a tool for this. But since I don't have that tool anymore, because I thought the trend, you know, trends, they come and go. So just like clothing and fashion trends, I guess our stamping trends come and go. So that was a thing, you know, 10 years ago. And now it is back. So on this ribbon, I just need to eyeball kind of how much I need. I can always trim it down more after I get to really putting it in place. So I'm doing just a zigzag pattern. So this appears to be plenty right here. And I will put down my stamped image first, the circle, the layering circle die. Put that kind of to the left side, left center. And then I'm going to want this behind my sentiment piece. Let's do some glue dots. Looks like I can get rid of a little teared piece there. Okay, and so I'm going to just start. I'm going to put a glue dot here. I can always readjust this, so I can still pull this off of here if after I get it, I'm not quite sure I like exactly where it is. And then I'll go down, okay, and up. This is one of those things you want to not overthink. You want to just go for it. And then back down, okay? And so then my back down, I'll put a glue dot down on this end. I'll leave that end loose. And you get like a Z pattern, a zigzag, an S, whatever you want to call it. That's what you get. And then this is just going to go right over the center of that using dimensionals. Looks like I might be able to finish up this sheet of dimensionals on today's projects. Again, I'm just making one. In your card kit, you would have gotten 2. Next month, coming up next month, it is the peaceful, did I say peaceful place? I shared it at the beginning. Let me see. Yeah, peaceful place. So we will be moving into kind of some Christmas themed cards for October and November. And then we'll be just back to all occasions in December. You know, we got to do a few for Christmas. So even if you don't send out a lot of Christmas cards, I encourage you to still do the class. It's going to be very pretty. You can always use a few Christmas cards on hand. Even if you don't want to say have 100 of them, you can have a few. Now at this point, I can decide if I want to trim it down, you know, or if I want to maneuver it somewhere else. I'm just going to trim a little. And that completes that card. Oh, almost completes that card. We should put some gems on there. I have lost my gems now. And I think I'll do the bronze ones on here. We'll even out my sheet of gems here. So after you complete your cards with your card kit, you should have extra gems left over, or these brown matte dots. So you can create different projects with them. Nice thing on these, you can also color these in. So if you want a different color, you can use your Stampin' Blends and color them a different color. So I like that. I like both ways. So depend on if you like a, you know, more rustic vibe, or if you like a really clean, crisp image, this one is nice. Okay, last but not least, our final card. We have got Calypso Coral for our base. And we have got Very Vanilla for our layer 2, embossed the vertical direction with the time-worn embossing folder. I have to think of what I need to do here. Where's my sample? All right, so some of you have maybe seen, I did feature this exact card on a Facebook Live a few weeks ago. So I am just happy to make it again, because, you know, if I make it now again for all of you, I've got yet another sample. So I will have 4 completed cards of this one, and I already sent one off. So it'll be great to have another one. I'm going to make this one a thank you card. I used crumb cake for the label die. All right. And I want to do a little blending on this one, or a little coloring of my edges, because we want this to look, you know, a little time worn. So I'll just take my soft suede. Don't need a ton of ink, and I'm just going to rub it along the sides. See, just give it a little color, a little texture. See, depending on how much. Ooh, that I'm going a little wild now. See, sometimes once I start doing this, then I don't want to stop. I could do the whole thing. Okay, so this one is done a little more than that one. So just depending on, and maybe you skip it all together. It's totally up to you what you want to do. These are your cards, your class kit. Just because I made it one way does not mean you have to make it that way at all. In fact, I love it when I see people's projects. Let's do that same little curling up of some edges on this one. I love to see what other people come up with, the supplies I give them. It really shows you the sky is the limit when you get a class kit in the mail that you can do with Stampin' Up! Products. They all coordinate so well together, and across bundles and different products too. So you definitely do not have to do the cards just as I did. So I'm going to put some layers here, and then we'll do some bronzing on this. And let me see. I know I had it here. I probably dropped it somewhere. I need to get that other designer series. Oh, here it is. It's underneath the other cards. So here I'm kind of doing the same exact concept. So these 2 cards here, let's see the first one. You know, between the cards, they have some of the same elements. So like this one, I'm going to put the background just like I did there on this one. I tear that little piece off of there, and we're going for that rustic vibe, the time-worn vibe. I'm saying rustic, and it should be time-worn. So I believe the stamp set next month, maybe that's what's in my head, is called Rustic Retreat for the Peaceful Place bundle. And then let's put that into place. And then we do have some of these elements. So this is in crumb cake. It's just some, I don't know, someone told me the name of these flowers, and now I can't remember. But they're very pretty flowers for the fall. And it would be nice if I had my silicone mat here, since it is smaller. That way I won't get adhesive all over my workspace. You see that? So you can just kind of go on there, and it's not gonna stick to anything. So put that in place. Again, don't overthink that part. Just, you know, put some adhesive on it and slap it down into place, and you're gonna be good to go. Because we're adding layers over the top. So next up, I've got a Calypso Coral. We'll put that to the right. And then our embossed image will go right here before we finish. And so I need to bring in my Stamparatus that I have set up for embossing. And this is using the copper embossing powder. So I've got my image here. I have got this here. Now, if you don't want to emboss, you can just stamp this too. It does not have to be embossed. And if same goes for the other one. If you want to emboss them both, that's going to be really pretty too. So whatever you want to do, make this your own. And so I got my Versa. That's what helps the powder stick to the paper. And I'm going to push this down. Now I remember on this, because this was set up just like this yesterday for the heat embossing. After we did a few, this little flower here needed just an extra little push. So right there, I'm going to just give that an extra little push. And I'm going to gently pull this up. Okay, and now this is going to be pretty close to the edges. So when I heat it, I am going to have to be careful. If you have a tweezers, that works really well too, to hold on to the edges with a tweezers. I have one, but it's not here. So, I mean, it's not handy because of course I didn't think of it right now. So I'm just going to get this all in place, and then I will go ahead and just lay it down on my surface and hold it into place. And you see, I'm being very generous. These are nice to store. If you have, I like to store mine back into the containers, but that's just how I do it. If you're, and I usually like just kind of blow on it just a little bit to get the excess off. I like to put mine back in the jars, but it's nice if you just keep it like this and you have a cover, like just a little like Rubbermaid thing or something, because then, you know, you can just dump it all. I'm so generous because I can just dump it back in there. And yet to this day, I haven't had one, you know, fall apart on me, or fall all over. Spill, that's the right word. Okay, so I'm taking my Take a Pick tool to hold it in place. Again, it's got to heat up a little bit. I kind of do this to heat it up, and then once it starts to go, then I just follow along the lines. So it's all heated up now. And the magic is moving. Look at that. So in that first one, I just showed you how it resisted the ink when you know, color over the top. And this one, we're just gonna leave a nice copper color. I'm not gonna do any coloring on it. If you wanted to, go for it. But for me, I left it just how it was on my sample. It's nice and shiny now. Look at that. Isn't that pretty? And also I'm gonna do with that one, I'm gonna put it on a few dimensionals and put it right into place. Put a sentiment piece over the top of it. If I have a sentiment piece, looks like I'm gonna have to find one. Now you could obviously get the idea without me putting that sentiment piece on, but the problem is if I don't put the sentiment piece on, what's gonna happen is I'm gonna say I'm gonna do it later, and I'm gonna get busy, and 3 months from now I'm gonna have this card still sitting here like this. So I best just do it right away. So I have got that little sentiment piece label in crumb cake, and I will use my soft suede to do the thank you. And because this is small, I do need to go right over the top. Nice straight up, straight down. Good, I got that centered nicely. And, you know, I am gonna see if I have another sheet of small dimensionals. That'll be a little bit faster. And looks like I'm gonna get to start some new sheets here pretty soon. Okay, so let's just put a few on there, and then I'll put a few onto the flower. We need to grab out a piece of ribbon yet. One of them in half. So you'll see, as you know, I think you would agree that that ribbon cut in half was perfect for these projects versus using a full piece. It would have been just a little bit too bulky to put behind these. And then even if you wanted to tie a bow, you know, it's not exactly bow tying ribbon, but if you cut it in half, you would have better luck with that. Okay, this part needs to go first. I was gonna put my sentiment on first. We wanna put the flower on first. So this card is kind of like building a puzzle. The designer series first, the flowers over the top of that. This one kind of in the center. And this one, oh, look at that. I did that like perfect. My dimensional is gonna fit right in between there. Oh my goodness, I couldn't have planned that any better. And I will just snip a piece of this off. Doing the same, I don't even know if we could call this a technique, but the same little ribbon idea as we did on that first card that we used ribbon. I'm gonna just put it right in the center of these flowers. Just like that. See that? And then we'll tuck this right in there. And the ribbon will sneak out and I can kind of reposition it after I get this piece on. Okay, there we go. Let's reposition this a little bit. And I need to put another dimensional back here. You know what I should probably do? Let's just put it right onto here. Then it's gonna go where it needs to. There we go. All right, and so that almost completes it. Let's just add some more of our matte dots. So since we've got this in copper, we will do that. Now I have made some samples of this exact same card where I put crumb cake in white, or I did gold, and they all looked lovely. So if you don't have copper embossing powder, but you have another color, go for it. Just try whatever you have. If you don't have embossing powder, just do this in, you know, your Memento and color it, or do it in soft suede and leave it. Because you'll see on this card, I did not color it at all. You know, I left it. So you have some options for creating. Now, if you were just watching along, you didn't get the class kit, but you're watching the video, I hope that you enjoyed this. This gives you some inspiration to do some stamping, possibly some heat embossing, and just really gave you a nice, good look at the Harvest Meadow suite with the designer series, the stamp set, the dies, the ribbon, these matte dots, just the whole thing is just beautiful. All right, everybody, so thank you for watching. Thank you for taking September Card Club class. I hope to see you back in October when we are using that Peaceful Place suite. So I'll see you back here all real soon. Have a great month, everybody. Thanks again.